That's cause he done.
Dummy thick. Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video with our first impressions of Back 4 Blood, this new game that's going to be coming out in a couple of months. We are just recording some beta test footage, so this isn't real game footage, this is from the beta test, but we're getting our first impressions, what we think about it, talking about some of the mechanics of the game, and some of the cool stuff you get to play around in there. So welcome on in. The footage is coming from my Twitch stream over at Johan Wick on Twitch. Links in the description. If you feel like joining in, check it out. We'll be recording some stuff for there. Hopefully when it goes open beta, we'll be playing again some more. So when you first open up the game, you are greeted by the sort of mission hub. This is the base that you choose all of your missions from, and it's got a few areas you can check out. The first area is where you can actually choose your campaigns. So you can see in here we've got a campaign menu, a versus menu. When you select it, you get to choose what you're working on. Currently, there are a limited number of campaigns. There's only one campaign, and it's got two halves to it. Each one's broken up into 4 sections, so it's kind of like Left 4 Dead, where you can go through each mission stage by stage. But this is where you'll choose that. You can get it set up there and then go on with doing the missions. You got your difficulties and all sorts of stuff to choose in there. Moving on from that mission, we come to our next station, which is the cards. So this game introduces what they call a roguelite system, where they are taking elements from roguelite games where you can construct a card deck and use that to change the way the game works. You can make as many decks as you want that I'm aware of. I never found a limit on it, but I didn't make super many. Each deck can contain up to 15 cards, and you can choose those cards from your collection. So a few things of note about the card system. Inside the card system, the order that you put them in matters. In the game, you're going to choose certain of these cards. The top card of your deck you will get by default. So when you start the game, you will get the top card without having to choose it. After that, each time you finish a mission, you can choose one of, I believe, 5 cards. Those 5 cards are the top 5 cards in your deck. And as you choose them, they continue sequentially through your deck. So the order that you construct your deck does matter. Now, when you are in the game, you have to choose one of the decks. You don't get to jump between your decks. You choose the deck you want for the mission, and those are the cards that you are limited to for that entire run-through. But you can tailor your decks to however you're playing. If you're filling in a specific role for your team, you can choose the deck that it matches for that. Moving on from the deck building, we get to the last of the stations inside the base. At this station, we have the ability to use sort of an in-game currency that you unlock by playing levels, and you can use that to unlock more cards that you can use for your decks, as well as some sprays and some different cosmetic related items. You don't get to choose which ones are in there. You go through it in order. After you finish one of the decks, you then get a second round on top of it. So there's quite a few cards that are available in there. You can see a few of them get very powerful. The farther into the lines you go, the trees that you go, the better the cards you get are.
How's it going,
Some of them have some pretty hefty upsides and downsides, but it gives you a lot more ability to customize and tailor your decks towards your playstyle. The last part of the base is a shooting range. When you go out here, you are allowed to use your weapons. They become active and you can shoot with them. So on the table here, you have all of the weapons in the game available, everything from the pistols, subguns, shotguns, assault rifles, and the sniper rifles, as well as all of the different attachments and modifications you can put on them.
Sniper rifle.
So let's take a look at some actual gameplay. Yeah, it was the one. So inside is an M4.
Sawed off here. That'll do.
You know, in terms of gameplay, it's pretty dynamic and active. It's got a lot of the
That
stuff you'd
Belgian had
expect
5
out
more
of
damage
a
than the
fairly
last one.
standard modern military shooter. What's kind of fun is you can go through, you'll find these different boxes with different weapons, so you can exchange your primary weapons, your secondary weapons, all kinds of different stuff. There will also be boxes that have new modules. You find bandages, healing stuff. It's well worth exploring the map as you go through. The gunplay feels really good. There's a lot of great visual feedback and audio feedback, so it's really fun to play. It doesn't feel clunky. On my system, I was able to run it with top settings and turn over 144 FPS with VSync on. It's a very, very efficient running game. It looks good. It responds very well. No clunkiness at all. Everything responded really fast. So a lot of great stuff for the gun handling things. So you can find different attachments. You can see it highlights what attachment on the gun it would be adding. So whatever gun you have equipped is what it'll get put on. You can see where it gets applied on there. So some guns can have 4 attachments, some can have less than that. But it's pretty clear where it's going. It's not as clear what the current attachment you have does, but if you hit your tab key, it pops open a menu for you to be able to check that.
We want to go inside.
Firecrackers here.
So, very immersive sound, great soundscape going on. I never noticed any issues with directionality in sound. I always play with headphones on, and I was able to use that to pretty well pinpoint where sounds were coming from. I believe the game does have 3D audio enabled, so it's not just a ring around your head, but it does also compensate for up and down sound. I believe. But it was a very immersive soundscape. I quite enjoyed it.
Could come in handy.
Birds close by somewhere?
Lay down, stay down.
Check your fire.
Got something over
There is a
here.
ping system,
get
which is really useful. We did have some
That'll
significant issues with pings not showing up for other players. I'm hoping in the final release of the game that issue's resolved. But generally, there weren't too many game-breaking bugs. They were mostly just minor inconveniences.
Let's hustle, people.
But definitely things that
I'd
I would
watch
hope
that
get
ladder
fixed
if I were
before
you.
the game
Wouldn't be the
goes
first
live.
cleaner we lost on one.
So
First
that there
aid
on the
cabinet.
wall is the
Best
med
patch up
station.
now.
There's a couple of different ways to heal, and the way those heals
First aid
work
cabinet there.
changes the
Best
type of
patch
health.
yourself
There.
So there's 2 stages of health. You can lose health, and then you
bird.
can take trauma damage. Trauma damage can't be recovered unless you're using one of those wall stations. The other HP can be, so it's something that you do have to be aware of as you're playing the game.
Is anyone still out there?
Now, if you're coming from Left 4
Lots of
Dead,
birds.
you'll know about cars, and setting off cars can call a horde. Well, in Back 4 Blood, there are cars. Some cars are alarmed, but they've also added birds. Birds respond much the same way as witches do. If you shoot the bird, if you run into the bird, if you stand too close to the bird for too long, sets the bird off, summons a horde. Now, a little different from the witch in that it doesn't chase you down and instantly kill you, but it does summon a horde, which can be pretty dangerous.
Set off all of the fucking birds.
Probably some loot in here.
We need this.
Let's check this place out. Lights on.
One other thing to note, and you might have seen that there are a bunch of different ammo types. Each type of gun requires its own ammo. So the types of ammo are pistol and subgun ammo, assault rifle ammo, shotgun ammo, and sniper ammo. The main weapons take their own ammo types, but some of the pistols also take specific ammo types. Now, it's something you will have to manage with your team and be aware of. Sometimes you're not going to want to just pick up all of the ammo you see because one of your teammates might need it. And you might want to make sure that you run a diverse selection of weapons so that you're not all trying to collect assault rifle ammo.
Reloading.
Bandages. Need that.
But as you progress through the game, you loot the place, find different guns, and then you make it into the safe rooms to wrap it up. So after you get everyone in the safe room, close the door, and that finishes the level.
Well, we're all still breathing, so that's something.
So those supply points are what you're going to use to unlock new cards. Then you can see your stats for the mission. And after this, it will have you choosing your new cards. It'll also show what are called corruption cards. The corruption cards are modifiers to the game. They change the way the enemies respond, or they change something about how the map looks. The loading screens generally weren't too much of an issue. So here we can see, here's the corruption card. That's the modification to the actual map or the gameplay, or it's something that you can do to get additional copper. Then you have your starter card. That's the top card on your deck, and then you get to choose the next one from the next 5 cards in your deck. After you choose that, hit continue, and then you spawn into the safe room. Now in the safe room, you have a store. You can use this to buy a couple of guns, replenish your health, purchase some add-ons, get grenades and health items. So you've got the ability to spend the copper that you gather in the game at the store here. Now copper doesn't roll over between games, but it does roll over between maps, so you might not want to spend all of your copper every single round. That way you can save up for some of the more expensive modifications later in the game. But after you buy your stuff from the vendor, you can then open the door and carry on with the murderizing.
Ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Let's go kick some ass.
So my final thoughts, overall, it looks like it's going to be an awesome game. I'm really excited for seeing how it is on release. Obviously, you should never pre-order a game. That's a topic for another video. But
Sniper ammo on top of this thing.
it looks really promising. It responds really well. The gameplay was dynamic and fun. Mechanics-wise, it seemed really solid. There were a couple of issues with the way the bots responded to things. Sometimes they get caught up on a variety of things. But overall, not a huge number of major issues.
For the boss.
I was pretty satisfied with the way it responded, and assuming that the beta is a couple of patches behind, ideally those things will all be fixed before release. So I'm looking forward to it. I probably won't be buying it day one, because I generally give a couple of days before buying something just to make sure that there's no game-breaking bugs that need to be resolved first. But I'm pretty excited for the game. I'm looking forward to it. It shows a lot of promise. It was a lot of fun to play. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be trying to post a little more regularly to YouTube, so hopefully you'll stick around and watch those. And you can find me over on Twitch at Johan Wick. That's where I do most of my content creation and gaming and stuff. So, hope to see you there.